Hello, everyone, and welcome to Vtuber Talk. I'm your host, Jay, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. For those of you who haven't been here before, Vtuber Talk is designed after classic late-night talk shows. Everything here is live, casual, and the goal is simply have fun conversations that will entertain people who are already familiar with the guest while still being accessible for new fans. Well, welcome on in, Raiders. Can't imagine where you all came from. No, certainly not. Not like you just came from a 10-hour stream or anything, no.
Who knows? Listen, I'm doing great, Chad. I just went into the back room, in the break room. I pulled down one of the mirrors and I took the maddest bump you've ever fucking seen. I'm ready. Whoa! Let's go, baby! Tiger blood!
Also, Reshiram54321 and Spartan Yoshi 64. Thank you so much for the follows. Welcome on in. So, Arthur, I'm guessing the vast majority of people here are already familiar with you, considering they probably just came from your stream. But in case we have anyone who isn't, if you could introduce yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Arthur A. Abbott, your local friendly retro gaming and reacting half-imp VTuber. The title has changed a couple times in the last couple of years, but I goof around, I goob around, I shake my butt, I never stop yapping. This is going to go on 12 to 13 hours of nonstop yapping in a single day. So that's kind of my thing. I just kind of talk. I say things. And people listen for some reason. Not exactly sure why.
Don't know. Tricked them one way or another. But yes, talk indeed you do. You've already been doing it quite a bit. And I'm happy to have you here talking to wrap up the day. But I am curious, as someone who talks so much, do you have any go-to vocal remedies just to make sure that your voice is being taken care of? I know some folks have different things that they swear by. Others just drink a lot of water. What about you?
So I am the lubricated thrusty type. I believe just in a very healthy amount of regular ice cold water. I have a Tanekia water bottle that was given to me as a gift by Aki. That I refill regularly with ice from my fridge. I make sure to over the course of a stream, if it's longer than generally a 6-hour stream, I will do one full refill with ice. A 10-hour stream like I just did, I can do up to 3 refills. You have to consistently realize how important it is to always have your throat lubricated, because the problem is when you don't have it lubricated, when you aren't regularly drinking water, it dries out, and then that's when the cracking starts. That's when you start hurting yourself. Now, in very bad situations where I'm in genuine pain of some kind, usually when I'm sick, I will get some tea, some nice tea out, add some honey to it, and that really helps the throat. But for the most part, I say 99% of the time, you just need ice water.
Yep. That water, just in terms of regular upkeep and maintenance, it is in fact that simple. That if you are using vocal remedies on the regular, you're probably doing something wrong along the way. That vocal remedies are generally going to be only if you are doing something excessive that is out of the ordinary. That, if you're doing your first 10-hour stream and you need a vocal remedy, that's probably going to be expected.
Or maybe you do a very specific kind of voice. Like a good example is, like, I know Yoro used to. I think Yoro has completely changed her vocal style over the last year, and is now just kind of using her natural voice. But for a very long time, she was using a very intensive voice that would take a lot out of her. And I've known several other VTubers who've done the exact same thing, where they have a specific streaming voice that is not their natural voice. Where my voice is just my natural Arthur voice, right? It is just me projecting as if I was on stage, but just talking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember Yoro actually, I forget the exact episode number. She was somewhere around episode 15 or 20, that she was the early days of VTuber Talk, this being episode 145. And that I distinctly remember that when we had our pre-interview, that she was using her, as she calls it, her mid-voice, her normal voice. And that you are right, that over the past year in particular, she has gradually phased into that being her more regular streaming voice, but that back in the day, she had the much higher-pitched, more gremlin voice, and she did it well, to her credit. But it was
very good. But the problem with voices like that is that it does undo damage to your throat over time.
Yes.
It's what many voice actors have talked about this, of like there are certain voices that over time they just can't do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just not viable as their vocal cords have changed or some level of damage is done. I'm honestly glad that she has moved into that more mid-tone voice.
Yeah.
Because it's just I always did worry back in the day for her throat and what what was being done to it, but it's still extremely impressive when you can push yourself in those ways as a talent, as a streamer, and to try to do like interesting things like that regardless.
And every so often, you do actually get folks who are able to just over time train themselves and stay committed to the bit because it's either meaningful for them or that it's just extra fun for them. My big case study for that is Cabal, that for the early days, he would have a cap on his streams usually somewhere around 3, 4, 5 hours was going to be pushing it because he knew that in order to keep that voice going, which he does very well, that he was very conscious of, okay, I need to stop if it ever becomes painful, because if you're starting to feel pain, that's either something's gone wrong or you're at your limit, and that you are going to do more damage, potentially long-term damage, if you do not stop. And that he very reasonably was like, okay, I'm feeling my throat's at its limit for today, so we're going to wind downstream. But that over the years, he was able to build up that endurance. And nowadays, he's able to do 10-hour, 12-hour streams with that voice because he's trained himself to do it. And that is a relative minority.
I've found it very interesting that I have very on and off days when it comes to, because the most intensive thing I do in my voice is sing, right? I do greatly enjoy karaoke from time to time, and I've found that some days I just can't do it. Like I can get a couple songs in, but I'm already I know in my throat where it is that I need to stop myself, and sometimes I can go 20 songs. I can do out the entirety of Albuquerque by Weird Al and multiple different songs, like spanning multiple genres, and I'll be fine and everything's coming out clear. And then sometimes I'll start on song number 2 for the day, and I'm already scratchy. I'm at my upper limit for like my range, and it's just it's like, oh, okay, nope, not today, not today.
Yeah, and for me, that I use my very natural voice. I don't sing much. I'm actually currently working on a cover, which I need to still pay off for the 3rd anniversary charity marathon. Fortunately, it's not a difficult song. It's Big Iron. And frankly,
that's an easy
because I put up a poll of 4 different options of what the cover song would be. And Big Iron, frankly, is the layup in terms of vocal range. It's really just one verse repeated ad nauseum. The annoying part that I've hit is that I could not, for the life of me, find a karaoke track that is in the key of the original song.
Oh, God. That is one of the most annoying things about karaoke is, like, not being able to find something that sounds like the original, like, even close. Like, it's just like this vague plinking and plonking.
I was able to find one that the instrumentation at least sounds respectably similar, because goodness knows there were several that, like you said, plinking and plonking, that just did not sound good. Problem is, this one still is not quite in that key. That I initially recorded a try of it with the original song in the background, put it overlaid to the karaoke track, and was like, this sounds awful. Wait, oh no, it's the wrong key. So now I had to sort of retrain my brain for these notes and where I mentally expect them to be placed, and now have to shift them. And I've just about got it where I want it, but that's part of why that's taken a while, because bleh.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean.
At least I don't have to fight it being a actually musically complex song on top of all that. But it's more the mental battle than the actual vocal one at that point, of just making sure that I don't instinctively go to the original key of it as I'm recording. But when you sing, do you have any favorite songs or genres that are your go-tos?
Oh, I have. I'm legendary for my creep cover. That is my song. That is the song that I've been known for since day one, like the early days of VTubing. I'm very good at a lot of like late 90s and early 2000s music. Like that's kind of my purview, my genre, my thing. Stuff like "Float On" by Modest Mouse, The Killers, several Killers songs, so a little bit of pop punk here and there. Like that's generally my wheelhouse of what fits my voice very well. Weird Al also. I'm pretty good at most Weird Al songs.
Oh, I do love some Weird Al. That I can see, because your register ends up slightly higher, just where your voice naturally sits, and that's the same with Al. So I can definitely hear that. So yeah,
Yeah.
Weird Al. It is incredible how well Weird Al and his style has aged. That, yeah, maybe a line or two of some of his older songs didn't age particularly well, but by and large, his discography is still incredible. And that just, he as a personality has been able to persist of just this, he's not what you necessarily think of as A-lister, big name in Hollywood, but that he's been around, he's still very respected. And that
he
he's
is
still
such
doing
a
stuff.
well-known entity. Like, everybody loves him. Like, I don't think there's anybody who can say a negative word. Like, the most negative words that are said about Weird Al are by, like, weird, salty, like, musicians who, like, are really, like, self-hating and nobody really likes. So, like, and it's always very strange when I hear stories of, like, oh, yeah, this person didn't want, he felt it was disrespectful to have a Weird Al cover his music, and it's just like...
And those are total anomalies.
Over yourself.
That, 99 times out of 100, somebody has their song parodied by Weird Al. It's like, oh my gosh, it's such an honor. Like, wow, thank you so much. And that there's actually a tangible effect that you can see when he does a parody of a song, that the original then sees a significant uptick in terms of listens, chart position, and all that. And that he's able to do that because he pulls in such a different audience, and that he doesn't constrain himself to a particular genre that he's going to parody.
Weird Al is the React streamer of music.
Oh, wow.
In a way.
I never thought about it in that framing, but you're not wrong.
Except for he actually does bring attention to the original version of the content rather than detract from it.
Yeah.
In any way.
Yeah, that he is truly adding and transformative just by nature of what he does. Did you ever actually see Weird, the Al Yankovic story, the documentary?
I have still not seen the movie. I've seen him live twice, but I've not seen the movie yet. I'm really
good.
bad. I'm really bad about watching movies these days. I don't know what it is. I just don't. I mean, it might be the 15 hours a day of streaming content, maybe. I don't know. I don't know exactly what it possibly could be that is keeping me from all other potential hobbies.
Who knows? It's a mystery.
Who knows? It's a mystery. Looks at hours streamed for week. It's a mystery to everybody.
Also, Raigeki 55. Yes, the Daniel Radcliffe one. That it's Radcliffe playing Weird Al, and it is not a documentary. It is exactly what you would expect Weird Al doing a quote-unquote documentary to do. It's very good.
If it's at all like UHF, I'm going to love it. UHF was one of the most underrated movies of the 80s, I think. It just came out at an awful time. Like, I think the exact week it came out was like, it came out along E.T. and Raiders of the Lost Ark, right?
Oh.
Yeah, it dropped in
no.
an awful time. Wait, let me double check this. So, movies UHF was up against. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Here's the movies that were. It was up. Let's see. The Last Crusade, Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, Ghostbusters 2, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Lethal Weapon 2, Batman, License to Kill, Dead Poet Society, When Harry Met Sally, Do the Right Thing, and Weekend at Bernie's.
Okay, so this has to be over the course of its run. These movies did not all come out on the exact same weekend, did they?
No. So within the month. No,
but
within the month
I
prior.
can believe that. Within the month prior and up to the release of UHF, the studio's bigger movies was in it. No. These movies all came out like within the month before and the month of. So this is what it was facing at the box office at the time. It had no chance.
Understandably underperformed. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how good the movie is. Even today, that's something that you see studios do. That if they notice, okay, this tentpole blockbuster film that is highly anticipated has just put its date on this thing, and we have this sort of niche thing or something that's, we want to do really well, they will move it. And that's part of the positioning process of it all.
Yeah, but they just didn't care about it. They threw it to the wolves. They were like, whatever, just fucking, I don't care. Like, it's fine. Just put it out at the same time. I think, some of those also, I think they didn't realize they were going to be the hits they were, right? Like, I think everybody knew Ghostbusters 2 or Last Crusade were going to be good.
Point.
Yeah. But, like, stuff like When Harry Met Sally, nobody realized how big that was going to be. Like, a lot of those, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, I don't think people realized how big that was going to be.
Yeah,
nobody realized how big, like, a lot of those were.
Now, Reshrem in chat mentioning Sonic the Hedgehog outperformed its neighboring superhero movies twice. Yes. But at the same time, that's not a no-name movie. It was anticipated, and obviously it had its own very unique set of fanfare leading up to it of just the movie that repaired itself. The one-time social media outcry of an adaptation actually did good.
Yeah, fix something. One singular time. The only
the
time.
anomaly. I'm actually really looking forward to Sonic 3. I know that you're a big Sonic fan. I can't say that I've played a ton, but Sonic Adventure 2 is, to this day, one of my favorite games of all time. I unironically love that game. I unironically love Crush 40. And
I'm sorry that you have so much. I'm sorry you have so much brain damage. It's very unfortunate, and I hope that you get better.
It is. I live with it somehow. But hearing that little riff of Live and Learn in the teaser that they did, that was the top of my wish list for Sonic 3. That I said I have 3 things that I wanted from that movie. One is at some point in time, I want to see Sonic skateboarding down a street on a piece of scrap metal. It doesn't have to be from a helicopter. It doesn't have to be an exact recreation of City Escape. Just give me a small sequence, a nod. The other thing is I want Space Colony Arc. It doesn't need to be the exact same story. We don't need to get to the pyramid to get to Space Colony Arc. I don't care if we have Meteor Herd, Cosmic Wall.
I feel
we
like
don't
they
need all
don't
that.
care as much about
somehow.
like references, unfortunately. Like it really feels like, I mean, there were a few in 2. One had basically nothing. Like it's good. I'm not hopeful. I'm hopeful that it will be good at least, right? Because I don't think they haven't really fucked up the past 2 movies.
Yeah, the first 2 were good.
I'm not anticipating them because like they've used so little music from the games, even though it's so iconic and like so little references.
And that's why my big thing was somewhere, please give us Live and Learn. Put Live and Learn in the movie, you cowards. You paid whatever licensing fee it was to get Uptown Funk in your movie. And fine, I understand that you're trying to appeal to the kids and have a current top 40 hit in your film. These are not mutually exclusive. You can have your Uptown Funk and some Crush 40. I'm sure that whatever Crush 40 is asking for their licensing is not nearly as much.
Uptown Funk is like 10 years old.
Oh my God, it is.
We're so old, dude. We're dying. We're literally dying as we're speaking. It's just one of those trailer movies. Yeah, it's what songs. It was one of those trailer songs that just fits. Like, don't make me feel so old. No, I'm sorry. It's what I do.
Do you have anything on your wish list for Sonic 3?
I honestly no. I walk into movies, specifically video game movies, with absolutely no assumptions of what it's going to be because I've been burned. I've been burned so many times. I've lived through the video game movie gambit. Okay, I've watched Uwe video game movies. Nothing can hurt me anymore because I've detached my soul from it completely. Yeah, I refuse to assume any of it's going to be good.
Oh yeah. I say specifically wish list, not expectations, assumptions of just that. I certainly walk into movies with, like you said, no expectations. But I'd be lying if I said that I didn't have the things that I hope for. Even if it is, I'm not going to be upset if it doesn't happen, but gosh, this would be the thing that would make me not actually jump out of my seat, but it would get the reaction out of me. What would you want to see?
It's impossible. The only thing that could give me like a true pop-off moment is if Shadow the Hedgehog suddenly just started ranting about SJWs in the middle. Like if they just did the dub bit like out of nowhere.
I would not bet on that one. No.
No, it would not happen. But that's probably the only thing that would move my cold dead heart.
Oh gosh, Restroom. Yeah, that I'm gonna piss on the moon. Yeah, other things that I do not expect. But what is your favorite Sonic game of all time? And that is not necessarily saying what is the best Sonic game of all time, but what is your favorite?
That's hard. That's really hard, honestly. I feel like it's probably just Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
A respectable answer.
Or maybe Generations as well. It's somewhere between Generations and Sonic 3 and Knuckles for me. Yeah, no, I'm gonna say Generations. I think Generations is probably my favorite Sonic game. Yeah, because it encapsulates so much that I love about both 3D and 2D Sonic. Like what the best elements of both gameplays, and it has a lot. It has a lot. Just it has a lot to it.
Yeah, it's very much. It's such a cool love letter game. Of you can tell because obviously most of the levels are ones that have been done before, but that they aren't just wholesale imported, that they were recreated from the ground up, and that
it felt like they tried. That was a big deal with it. Like and where Sonic Team is notorious for not trying. Yeah. They're notorious for deciding doing whatever they feel like doing on any given day.
Perhaps it isn't that they aren't trying, but that for better and frequently worse, they bark up different trees and frequently the wrong trees. That was Sonic 06, ambitious in its own terrible way, I suppose so. Unfinished for sure. That's a separate issue, but they tried that. There was Sonic Battle, if you remember that, on the Game Boy Advance, which was their really interesting attempt at an arena fighter.
I actually really like Sonic Battle. I thought it was quite fun. I played a lot of it as a kid.
Mm-hmm. Really sad that we never actually got the character Emerald back again.
Sonic, there's nothing that the Sonic franchise loves more than dropping characters and acting like they don't exist.
Yeah.
Like we'll never see any of the comic characters in anything ever again, even when they own the rights to some of them. We'll never see like some of the side characters. We'll never see anyone from the Dark Brotherhood. It's just you're gonna see just the same revolving door of 5 characters over. I mean, we're probably never gonna see
the
Big
fact
the
that
Cat
Shadow has become a mainstay is an anomaly. That by all rights, he should have appeared in Sonic Adventure 2 and never been seen again. And
because they technically killed him, but he was too popular, and they decided
too popular,
to bring him
and
back.
then they've had 2 or 3 explanations of things, and technically there is no canon answer of was the Shadow that died on the Ark the original Shadow? Did he actually survive? We will probably never get an answer. My guess actually is that if they do that they will give us the closest thing that we get to an answer in the film, but at that point it's continuities and timelines, and
it doesn't. It's totally different in a universe at that point, so it doesn't matter that much.
Are there any games that have not gotten video game adaptations that you actually think this one could be good? That if they did it right, that this might actually lend itself to a movie adaptation, or I'll even broaden that to just a live action adaptation of any sort.
You know what I'm actually kind of excited about? Is it out yet? Is the Fallout show out yet?
Not yet. I think it might be
this month. Is that the end of the month?
I think it's this month.
Yeah, I'm very excited about the Fallout show for some date on the 12th. Yeah, okay, so it's like a week away. That hasn't had something come out yet. Oh God. I mean, Castlevania had a very good animated show. I can't really say Castlevania. Metroid, I think, is something that has not. There could be a fantastic CGI action movie made out of Metroid. I do not
see a
want
horror thriller of Metroid. That Metroid, by all rights, could just be a horror game.
You know who I want? I want the company that works on the Resident Evil CGI movies to do a Metroid movie.
Ooh.
I think that would be fantastic. Yeah, I really don't want a live action Metroid. I can see that. Think it would work. I don't. I think it would. They would try to accentuate the Samus's actress too much. They'd have her out of her suit constantly. It would because you know how they are. I think the only time I've ever seen an actor be like, no, fuck you, I'm keeping the hat on, was Dredd. Right? The second Dredd movie. Which was his name? Keith Urban, I think his name was. I can't remember the actor's name.
And I guess season 1 of The Mandalorian for technically sort of most of the time.
Yeah. Well, and it's just so rare. So often, the producer, people won't watch this week. They can't see your face. Or the actor will be like, I want everyone to know it's me. And it fucks up the continuity and the story and everything. But yeah, I think a 3D CGI movie by the guys who made the Resident Evil movies of Metroid would be exactly what I want.
I could see that. That'd be interesting.
It's Carl Urban. Keith Urban is a country singer. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Now, obviously, you play a lot of games, but you also collect a lot of games, and that you actually go out of your way, that you go to yard sales, estate sales, flea markets, and that, in your own words, you do game chasing. How did you get into that?
So when I was a young little lad, a very small imp, I went out. So originally, I grew up in an extremely strict evangelical Christian household. And
that's how it always begins.
Part of this was my parents believing that video games were the devil and were evil and were going to corrupt your mind because, they read the tracts that were at the door at the opening to the church, and everyone was very regressive. And so I wasn't allowed to own games at first when I was a kid. But I'd played games at friends' houses, and I really enjoyed them. And one day, I discovered a PlayStation 1 during Townwide Yard Sale Day, and it had a big stack of games like Spider-Man and Tetris Deluxe, and I pedaled home on my bike. I whipped open my piggy bank. I pulled out all the quarters and dollars, and I went over there and I bought it for $20. And that was the beginning. And ever since then, I've gone to flea markets, yard sales, thrift stores, pawn shops, like anywhere I can possibly find games, other like games, like actual game stores to find undervalued stuff. Like dealing with other game vendors to buy things. Like there's so many options. That's the thing. There's so many options for ways to hunt down deals in the gaming market.
Yeah, and in a lot of markets, just if you know what you are looking at and you go to flea markets, yard sales, estate sales, what have you, that people misprice things, people don't know what they have, or that even if people do know what they have, that sometimes you can get a deal because, all right, they want this out of their hands and that they will take the cash even if it is at technically less than market value if it is somewhere in the ballpark.
And always negotiate everywhere. Even if the person's going to be an asshole about it. I had this situation happen to me recently where I went to a game store that's not my regular roost, and I brought up a game, and I was like, hey, I really want this, but could you check the price charting on it? Because, it's literally double the cost of the game. And they were like a stingy little wiener about it, and they hemmed and they hawed and they stomped their feet. But as soon as I was about to walk out the door, they just relented and sold me the game for it's not like, see, that's the most annoying thing about that. This is the thing I hate about dedicated video game vendors, is none of them know how to do fucking business. None of them understand the concept of liquidity. They all just sit on their product like a fucking dragon on a gold hoard for all eternity, just thinking, I'm going to get the highest value ever. No! Just sell it for what buy it for a good price and sell it for what it's worth. You absolute dingus. You moron.
You need actual steady revenue, and even if it's... Uh-oh, my model froze. Why did my model freeze? I'm still here, though. That's good. I'll figure... Oh, there we go. Woke up. You need to actually have steady income because you need to pay rent and such, and if you are just sitting on it waiting for that perfect best offer, especially when you are dealing in something as niche as older games, because you're not going to be getting a steady flow of customers like you will if you're, a grocery store, a butcher, what have you. If you're that type of store, anytime that somebody comes to you with a game in their hand, unless the offer is unreasonable, they should not put it back on the shelf. You should not let them put it back on the shelf.
Yeah, and if your margins are so fucked up that you can't accept any lower than your sticker price on something,
you're already doing something wrong.
Your business model is a complete joke. Your business model is a complete joke from day one, and you need to figure out what the fuck you're doing. I've heard from so many game vendors that if I don't get an 100% return, then I won't even sell it. And it's like, bro, do you even know how any business model anywhere in the world works? Most businesses are making less than 10% margins on their sales. But you know what they're doing? They're selling things all the time. Unlike you, who makes 5 sales a week. Oh yeah, you're really gonna survive off that. on your fucking treasure trove. And that's another thing that happens with these games resellers is that they end up in this position where their store goes out of business, and then all their stuff they have to put into fucking storage. Yeah, they have to put in storage. They waste money on it. Yeah, they get prideful, and they start like just throwing money away over and over and over again, throwing it into a pit repeatedly of like, eventually I'll be able to sell it. And then eventually they either A, die, which I've seen that happen sometimes, of people literally getting so old that they like pass away, and then their stuff gets handed down to their families, or B, they have to liquidate to someone else. And that's it.
Yep.
They have done nothing but lose money for the entire time they were in the business. Good job.
Now for you, how much, approximate percentage of the games that you buy are ones that you genuinely want to play versus ones that you pick up because you realize, all right, this is undervalued and I can flip it to make some money?
Back in the day, it was about 70-30. It was 70-30 to flip to keep. Because the problem was I had hit this precipice point in my collecting where the only things I wanted were so rare or so unavailable that I was going to have to pay retail for them and buy them online. Like we're talking like imports and like hyper rare stuff that only like 5 copies will be available for list anywhere online at any given time. So a lot of the stuff I was buying was to flip in order to generate profit, in order to afford to buy that stuff. Because there is no way in hell that I'm spending $500 of my actual money that I make in my job on a single video game. Yep. That would be crazy. That would be fucking nuts.
But if it's okay, I've accumulated this from acquiring and flipping, that just, it's this separate store of cash. And that my mother is actually very similar, that she is someone who for many years now has collected and curated antiques. And that she has developed this eye that she can go to yard sales, estate sales, and very easily know at a glance, okay, this plate is from the 60s, it has this iconic style, or that lamp is done by such and such brand in the 80s, and oh, they're only charging $3 for it, that's actually going to go for $45 on eBay or something. And that she has a small area of the house where the ones that she likes particularly that she will display and whatnot, and it's sort of a rotating thing that as certain ones she either grows less attached to, or if she ends up getting a piece that she really does like, that she limits the real estate of it. So there are things that are always coming and going, and that if something is rotated out, it's going to be sold, but that other times she will buy things specifically to flip it, and that represents her yard sale fund, that it is a self-sustaining hobby. It is something that there is never an actual outflow of income from it. That if anything, at the end of the day, she makes a couple bucks off of it. It's not going to be, it's not her job. It's not what she does. But that she's able to do this. She's able to have this passion and make sure that not only is she not losing money off of it, but that, she makes a little bit off of it. Plus now she has those antiques that she does like to display. And that's one of the best ways, in my opinion, to do a hobby, especially when you have that level of knowledge. Yeah,
that is. I absolutely agree. I think that being able to parlay income to continue your hobby without having to pay out of pocket is extremely valuable, and a lot more people should do it if they have the ability to. But yeah, I used to do that a lot. Nowadays, my time is so heavily invested into streaming that I don't have the time to go out and do as much hunting anymore. I can't go out to flea markets on Saturdays because I stream on Saturdays. I can't go out to flea markets on Sundays because I stream on Sundays. I can't go out to flea markets on Fridays because I stream on Fridays, right? So like as soon as I'm awake and up and able, I am streaming. And unfortunately, I could wake up earlier, but it doesn't matter because the reality is these places aren't open until it's time to stream. So
and
it's already prime time.
Could you try to stream from a flea market? Technically, yes.
If I wanted to die, if I want. Yeah, if I wanted to dox my general location, and have people calling in bomb threats to wherever I am, absolutely, that would be great. The unfortunate reality of IRL streaming is it's extremely dangerous. You need to be hyper under the radar and get lucky enough that some schizo isn't gonna find you and decide, hey, this person I know where that is. Like, wee woo, get on my Google Duo like phone line and call local police, and it's just, oh god, it's the worst. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't really turn my I can't spend time hunting anymore.
Yeah, it's not efficient.
I'll go out every once in a while and look for stuff like on rare occasions, but it's very infrequent. I don't sell like I haven't sold on eBay in fucking half a decade or more. It's been like 6-7 years. And like it does help that chat does supplement a lot for me. Like chat has bought me a lot of those games that I used to like go and buy stuff and sell to in order to resell and get to. Nowadays, chat has bought me a lot of those things through Throne. And the income that I make through streaming allows me to spend that on things for the stream and games that I would want to play. Because
do you have a
streaming
Grail game right now?
That I don't have right now. I don't know if I have a Grail game. You know what my Grail right now is? My Grail right now is a Neumann TLM 103. That is my Grail.
Ooh,
it is the
nice
voice acting microphone. Yes, the voice acting microphone. I currently use an amazing microphone. I'm currently on a Lewitt LCT 440 Pure, and this thing is gorgeous. I fucking love this mic with all my heart. But I want that TLM 103. I want it so I can just say, yeah, I got a TLM 103. You know, it's honestly more of an ego thing than a quality thing, because I think
it is a very nice microphone. It is legitimately good. You're probably paying a bit more than you should. That you are paying for some name brand stuff at that point, but at the same time, it is an industry standard. It is very, very, very good, and it would be basically the last microphone you'd ever have to buy.
Yeah, you don't ever need anything more than that, unless you want to go like crazy and start getting into tube mics. Yeah. But honestly, tube and ribbons, like, okay, ribbon mics are not viable for my use case whatsoever, because ribbon mics are way too fragile, and I'm a big old kind of guy, so that's not gonna work. And then tube mics, there's just so much self noise to a tube mic, and like regardless of how nice they sound, here's the reality. Is that I think getting the nicest condenser on the market is good enough, because getting the nicest tube mic on the market, first of all, it's going to be like $10K. Second of all,
microphones escalate in price exponentially.
Yeah. Second of all, the average viewer will not be able to enjoy the quality difference between a TLM 103 and a U87. It's just not.
The difference is marginal if you're not an audiophile. It's not going to be noticeable.
And plus, like, it's not like we're streaming our audio in the highest quality FLAC audio. It's coming through at maximum of 320.
Yeah. So unless you're actually recording masters for an album, at that point it's going to be superfluous. It's not really going to matter.
Absolutely. Honestly, even TLM 103 is kind of superfluous.
Yeah, it's kind of
But it's cool though. It is very cool. Yeah. But I mean, for games, like, I don't think there's anything that I can think of that is like a true grail. I've been picking up a lot of N64 recently, because I recently got an N64 within the last couple of months. So there's a lot of like basic stuff I need. Like, right, I need a Mario Kart 64. I need. Well, I've got a lot of the stuff I needed. I got like a GoldenEye. I got a Donkey Kong 64. I got an F-Zero. But like it's like that first party stuff, the Mario parties, that kind of stuff that I don't have.
Mario Kart's not going to be very expensive. It'll cost you.
No,
my guess is, what does that go for nowadays? Maybe $50-$60. It's not going to be like cheap.
But
there were so many made.
At the high end, I'm a cheap piece of shit, and I'm not going to buy it for any more than $30, because I'm cheap. I'm so cheap. I gotta get my deal.
I'm actually looking on eBay right now, just Mario Kart 64. What are the going prices right now? $19, $35.
Those are all the fakes though, because it's heavily N64 has been heavily faked in the recent years. Yeah. Similar to how GBA was back in the day.
Yeah, the ones that are at a glance that I'm seeing pictures and they look proper worn are about $40.
Yeah, 40 to 50 is the going rate right now, depending on condition for a cartridge. But I'm waiting it out because it's a super fucking common game, so I know I'll be able to get it at 30 at some point.
Mm-hmm. Now, the N64, the first console I ever owned was the GameCube, and so growing up, I was not allowed to have a home console until I was 10. I got a Game Boy for my 7th birthday. But that my parents were never anti-games in that, they were worried about the devil or violence, but that they sort of wanted me to be eased into games, I suppose. That they didn't want it to be the only thing I did, so it was just, all right, they felt that if I only had limited access during the early years, that I could end up in a healthy place with, which, to their credit, I feel like I did. But that for my 10th birthday, it was probably like 6 to 8 months after the GameCube came out, and that I got one of the games was Sonic Adventure 2 and Smash Brothers Melee, and that the GameCube was my console, but I played a lot of N64 at friends' houses growing up. That, like you said, that when you couldn't play games at home, you played them at friends' houses. So I played my fair share of Mario Kart 64 and original Smash Brothers, no questions there. And the GameCube, I think, was actually just such a great console, but so was the N64. That there's the relative number of games that were published for each of those is relatively low. People don't realize how small the relative libraries were.
Yeah,
because
the
Nintendo
library,
makes it difficult to publish.
The ESRB library for the N64 is literally like under 300 games.
Yeah.
It's under 300 games. It's crazy how, and it's actually, so the N64 is, I think, the easiest console to collect for from Nintendo if you only care about cartridges.
Yeah.
Because technically you can collect the entire Virtual Boy set for, I think it's a little more expensive, because now the problem is Jack Bros. Jack Bros has kind of like popped up to an absurd degree. You might be able to get it a little cheaper, honestly, if you don't count, depends on if you count Sculptor's Cut or not for the 64 set. But the 64 set is like maybe like 15 games worth over $100, and then like 20 or 30 games worth between like 80 to 20, and then like a handful of decent games in the 20 to 15 range, and then everything else is bulk games. Like, there's so many bulk games in the N64 library.
There's not
so
as many
much
bulk
stuff.
games as for the other systems.
Yeah, there's so much stuff that if you bought that stuff from like a vendor, you could probably like get almost a full set of like random commons for like $2 each. Like, it would really not be that hard to negotiate with someone who has a fuck ton of these games to just buy a giant pile of them off of them for a good bulk deal.
Now, you mentioned a lot of relatively specific stats there, Arthur. Have you looked into assembling such a collection?
I've thought about the N64 set, but the problem is I've done full sets before. I did Vita at one point, and I'm not fascinated by it. I have really been a quality over quantity kind of collector as of late, and I don't want to get a bunch of garbage. It would be easy, yes, but what would I do with like 230 of those games?
That's generally my thought when it comes to those types of collections. But it's neat that you've actually put in the time and research to know, all right, this is what it would take were I interested.
Yeah. I mean, I've always known a lot about the various consoles and how how collectible everything is for them. Like, I spent countless hours poring over price charting to learn every individual console and what the valuable and uncommon games on it were for when I was out and about hunting. Because the more knowledge you have, the better you are going to do as a video game reseller. Like, you need to be able to one-up literally everyone else, especially the other resellers, because they will miss things that have definitive value. Like an example would be like, oh, a reseller goes over a pile of games at a thrift store, and they pull out the Mario 64 and they walk away with it, right? and then you go over to it, and they miss the tail concerto. And it's like, okay, I just made $300 and you made $20.
Yeah, that you need
because
to know
I had more
niche
knowledge
information that it's like that for video games. It's like that for trading cards. That I had a friend who had an encyclopedic knowledge of Magic cards when it came to market values and sort of niche things, and he also knew how to pick ones that he wanted to speculate on. That cards that had very unique effects or that did certain things that he was like, this is very powerful in Commander. Nobody's brewed with it yet. It's just he's waiting that
it's funny
he would
say
pick up that he picked up a I wasn't going to get to this till later, but guess what, folks? Arthur and I are both big-time Magic nerds, and I can actually use a lot of jargon with him and name a lot of cards that I can't with most guests. That he spec'd on Zendikar Rising ages ago. Just like he was like, this is an ETB, draw a card. Like every green deck wants this. Nobody's playing it right now, but this is a $1 card. I'm going to buy 40 of them.
Oh boy! Oh, what did Zendikar Rising go up to on its high? It was ridiculous, right?
Yeah, and it's like $40. It's not a ridiculous investment. He's not saying, okay, I'm buying 2,000 of a thing. He's not going to go crazy, but he's like, this is very reasonable, and also for what it does, the floor isn't going to be much lower. That for what it is, it's probably not going to become a 10-cent card.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's the worst? I mean, honestly, oh no, you wasted $40.
Yeah,
who cares, right? Yeah, like that. A lot of dollar card investments back in the day. Like I remember, because it's funny you mentioned all this because I also used to invest in Magic cards, because that was how you would make your money in Magic in order to flip up for new decks all the time, as formats change, and I bought out piles of Sword of the Meek and Thopter Foundries, two ban lists before they got unbanned in Modern, because I was like, it's definitely getting unbanned this time, and then it didn't. I was like, fuck it. I just slammed my fucking 50 copies of Thopter Foundry and 10 copies of the Sword into a box and just forgot about them. And then the next unbanned list, they were unbanned, and I was like, oh, I bought these for 25 cents and $1.50 each, and now I can sell them for $10 and $40 each. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay, all right. And that paid for an entire Grand Prix weekend.
Yeah. Also, it was Zendikar Resurgent, my bad. Zendikar Rising was the set.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, so I mentioned this to you just before we went live because you were actually on Grimmy's channel just last night for her VTuber Baggage game show. And that you had a particular baggage thing, which I won't spoil because that's a story that you told last night, and I want to direct people to Grimmy's channel for that. But that the underlying setting of it was that you were at a Grand Prix. And that, for folks who aren't aware, Grand Prix no longer are, that they've rebranded several times over. It's now Magic Cons, and they don't have nearly as many. But that's the high-level open entry tournaments that you did not need to qualify for anything, that you could just walk up the day of it and participate in a high-level tournament that could get you into the Pro Tour, as it was back in the day. Or actually, I think it's back now.
It had a relatively pitiful payout of I think what if you won, you got like fucking 5K or something pathetic like that, maybe 10K. It was something that for winning a high-level tournament of the size that Grand Prix were, was pathetic in comparison to all esports. Like where League of Legends would be paying you out hundreds of $1,000s, Magic would throw you a couple of pennies and a used condom.
The difference for Magic, though, was that these Grand Prix were running every weekend or every other weekend, basically throughout the year. That people were able to go to these, and that in aggregate, the payout over the course of a year would be about what you would get, maybe a little less than some esports, but for a lot of these esports, they would have their one, maybe two events a year where it would be very top-heavy payout, and that Magic.
The problem though was with these Grand Prix was that you had to win to make money.
Yeah, if you weren't in top 64, you weren't getting money. If you weren't 32, you weren't making enough money to cover your expenses for the weekend. If you weren't top 8, you weren't making anything of actual significance.
Yeah, and honestly, yeah, like I would say top four was the only place where you were really making like significant livable money, and you would have to top four like you would basically have to top four Grand Prix. Let's remind people of how many people were at these events. These were events with thousands of participants.
You'd be
literal
seeing
thousands.
1 to 2,000 entries, and that, even the best players in the world are not going to be. There's more best players in the world, good players in the world than 4, and the way to make a sustainable living, at least back in the day for Magic the Gathering, was to qualify to be I forget what the term was, but it was the Pro Tour package or something, that there was a gold level and a platinum level, that if you earned a certain number of points, basically if you went to, over the course of a year, Grand Prix and like top 8'd 3 or 4 times, you didn't, or like won once, that you would then qualify for, it was the Pro Club, that's what it was. And
yes,
that
Pro Club,
for the next year, that what they would do, not only would you get a couple of buys for all the Grand Prix, but that you would receive an appearance fee, that you would get paid to go to Grand Prix for the next year. So you are now incentivized.
It was kind of a pitiful stipend, I remember it being. It was basically just, it would cover your ability to go to the tournament, but that does allow for a lot of opportunity
means that everything
cost.
is profit from there.
Yes, true. Very true.
Now it's more top heavy, that they did realize that the way to get more eyes on your game is to have the big flashy number with lots of digits. And so they did $1 million tournament, and they've done a lot of different ones, and the organized play structure for Magic the Gathering has been through so many iterations. I have no freaking clue what the hell it is right now.
Yeah, I quit in like between 2015 to 2017. I quit paper Magic, and I have not looked back since. And I believe that's when things all, because I can't remember, who was it? Was it Channel Fireball that got a hold of the entire Grand Prix circuit? Like
that it was Channel Fireball that had it for a while, because it used to be that there were a handful of different ones. Gosh, now I'm blanking on it, but Channel Fireball had always been one of like the main 3, but there were a couple of different companies that would operate Grand Prix, that it was essentially outsourced to a couple of different companies. But then Channel Fireball got an exclusive
took it away
one.
from everybody, and they gave it to Channel Fireball, and then the quality started dipping immediately, and it was like people were not happy,
because of the companies that ran Grand Prix, Channel Fireball ran the best Grand Prix. And the thing is, you could tell when you went from one Grand Prix to another, because all these companies were not beholden to a certain standard from Wizards of the Coast beyond the main event tournament. That everything regarding side events, regarding prizing, regarding entry fees was left up to the operator. And that Channel Fireball had much better prize walls. They had much better payout structures. They had more options for the side events, more creative side events. So I see how and why Wizards said, okay, we want the Grand Prix experience to be a consistent product. And so it makes sense to have the company that is clearly running the best of them right now to do it. And just that's going to be their consistent thing. I think that it was a combination of the timing of it and the broader Magic market that did not lend things to sustainability. That it's a very complex thing, but it's so rare. I've had a couple folks on the show that play Magic. In relativity, Magic players are a very small minority in the VTubing space.
And to find someone who played it at a pro level is extremely rare. Most people you talk to around these parts are like, I play Commander. It's like
Commander or Kitchen Table, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's great. That's how the
it's fine.
statistical majority play.
Yeah, but like it's a very different world when you're playing at high level. Like the number of just absolutely wild stories I have from my days. Do you want the big one? Oh boy, this is one of my favorite stories to tell. I don't know what region you ever played in, but so the Northeast is one of the most rough and tumble Magic regions in the entire country, I believe.
Oh yeah, that's where a lot of pros call home, and that there are these pockets that it's northeast in the Pacific Northwest, unsurprising because that's where the Wizards of the Coast headquarters is, that you get these communities of, just the average FNM in the area is actually going to be just leagues more competitive than average FNM in, I don't know,
yeah,
Arizona,
and that's why
or whatever.
that's how I got so good so fast, was that I had to adapt. I was facing like Pro Tour alumni on a weekly basis at fucking FNM, so it's either you get good or you never win anything
or you're
again.
just washing out week after week.
Yeah, you learn from the people who you're around, and so I very quickly climbed the ranks and became a better and better player over time. But so specifically, the Northeast is not only is it rough and tumble in the way of like the quality of player, but the wildness of the players. We were party animals. Because I was early 20s, and a lot of these guys were between anywhere from like early 20s to their 50s, and they loved to party hard. Like, I'm talking hard drugs at Grand Prix in the hotel rooms, hard. And one day, it was my birthday, and everything imaginable happened on this day. So it was an FNM. It was my birthday. I was running the tournament because I was the judge at the time for the tournament, and I also worked at. I was a judge, and I also worked at the card shop at the time, in the area. So I was in charge of everything, and I did not like this one particular person who came to FNM. I thought he was a snot-nosed little idiot. I thought that he was obnoxious. He was rude and very like he wouldn't take advice from people when they tried to help him, even though he would wash out and lose every single week. Dude was a wiener. And the guys knew that I didn't like this guy. Nobody liked this guy. So for my birthday, they had concocted me a present. One of the guys came over to me and he's like, Arthur, let's all go out back. We got you a gift. And I go out back, and it turns out they have scheduled a Fight Club death match between the guy I don't like and the biggest guy in the store.
How?
And everyone is circled together in a big circle. They've got like a shitty lawn chair there for me to sit in. They throw a Burger King cap on me, and the two of them but of course this is the New England winter, so it's fucking snowy and icy, and there's like I think there was a bit of a light drizzle of snow coming down at the same time, and they start. They say, give the word, and I give the word, and they start fucking wailing at each other. They're just throwing punches. They immediately slip and fall on the ground. They're like trying to mount one another, but slipping around on the fucking ice.
How did they get the other guy to agree to this? Because I can understand, okay, the bigger guy's probably in on the joke, but how did they get the other one to say, yeah, I'll do this Fight Club thing?
It wasn't because, like, I think it was just, like, he challenged him to a fight and he agreed. I don't think that he realized it was a gift of watching him get his ass kicked. And so they're, like, he is getting his ass kicked, by the way. Like, it's happening. It's going down. And suddenly, from behind me, through the doors, because we're out the back door, right? And through the doors, I hear the door cling-clang in the front, and I hear the sound of the other person who works there, who is like a substitute teacher, but also like worked at the card shop. I hear them scream, Arthur! What is going on? And they fucking charge through, and they find us in this fucking Fight Club out back of the store. Moment. We just like break it up, and everyone goes back and finishes like the third round out. And so the night was not over though. The night was not over, because afterwards, so they pulled me in the back, and we're all doing shots in the back room, and then the F&M's over. We're wrapping up. I'm paying out pricing, and they're like, Arthur, you're getting in the car tonight. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm getting a car? You're getting in the car tonight. You're in the car. I was like, okay. And I got in between the guys. Everybody's fucking like puffing smoke out the windows, but between like the air from their breath and their cigarettes. And they drive me to the only strip club in the area.
Oh my God.
And they pay for my lap dance. And they're fucking giving me a pile of ones. They're just like, you're going to have a good birthday.
I was about to say, hell of a birthday right there.
This was what it was like constantly with these people all the time. Like, I remember we would leave Grand Prix with the tub full of beer cans and cigarette butts. People would be like tweaking out on amphetamines, like on the show floor like in the middle of a Grand Prix. Like, it was fucking crazy. And it
People
was
are going
fun.
to listen to this and think that it was like, holy cow, Magic the Gathering was wild. And
it was.
This was not the average, but I have heard that the higher level folks, that there was a distinct party boy atmosphere amongst some of them. Some of them were relatively buttoned up and, this is business, we're trying, that we're actually not sweaty, but that they comport themselves professionally, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But that they were also your experience is not entirely unique from my understanding.
No, it is not. No, there is a certain subset of the high-end Magic the Gathering players who love to go insano style, and it was
And I guess, a
great
great time.
time.
As long as you're not hurting other people, that guy apparently agreed to the backlot brawl. He was not coerced. He was not forced into it, and I guess.
Yeah, he wanted to be part of it. He wanted to be part of the show, and that was a pretty constant. And now I saw a lot of other crazy shit happen in my time in Magic the Gathering. I saw people get actually dragged out back. Now there was a lot of beatings in my store. So specifically, one thing that I always heard was, so two things are big stereotypes, right? There's one stereotype that people try to from outside the card gaming communities, like general card gaming communities, make of like, oh, Magic players are stinky. No, they were not. They had an ass crack problem. Yes, that was definitive. There's always been an ass crack problem.
There will always be that picture.
Yeah, but the stink was, at least in my area, never an issue.
Hygiene,
because we would bully you if you did.
Yeah, no, that was the thing. that people saw the stigma and they were like, you're not gonna bring that on us.
No, we would bully you. We would tell you.
Deodorant.
Yeah, we would actually have deodorant in the store. We would literally have sticks of deodorant, and we would fucking like jam it down on the table next to someone and be like, "You're gonna use that, or you're gonna leave."
Yeah.
like that was the way we enforced like hygiene in the store, was that if someone came in and they were gross, we would let them know, you are going to take care of yourself, and next time you come back, you're not gonna have this problem again, or you're not gonna be welcome here. Yeah, that's the be all end all. That's how it is. And the other big thing was scumbag, weirdo, scummy traders, right? Because this was a big problem in Yu-Gi-Oh. This was a big fucking problem of like scamming kids all the time.
That and Pokemon,
let me tell you.
And I think
Pokemon
it has to do
too.
with the demographics, because like you said, scamming kids. That not as many younger kids play Magic the Gathering, and therefore it is more difficult for that type of person to prey on other players. And therefore, where are those people going to go? They're going to go to the games that have the higher percentage of kids in the demographic.
It also
because they're the ones that
the
don't know what they're
demographic
dealing
also
with.
The demographic also really like helps with that, because kids don't have morals. Kids generally don't have morals and don't understand right from wrong when they're younger. So they're more willing to like scam other kids.
Yeah.
But so that was not put up with not in my store. No. I remember distinctly turning my head, closing the door, and acting like someone was not actually getting their face punched in behind the dumpster behind behind the building, and that I was not a witness to anything, because they were definitively trying to scam people and trying to scam children out of their cars at pre-releases. And it's a busy time. There's a lot of people here. Like, I didn't know that Derek Dix-a-Lot, like, suddenly I thought he just left the convention. I didn't know that he got a fucking black eye behind the dumpster. I have no idea. No clue.
And in actuality, I've generally found Magic the Gathering shops and events to, especially pre-releases, to be some of the most actually welcoming and wholesome environments in TCG. Like, pre-releases are amazing. There's a pre-release next weekend. I'm so excited. And just the first time I ever went, because my first experience with Magic the Gathering was at summer camp when I was like 8, 9, 10, and folks taught me the basics of the game mechanics: power, toughness, combat, auras, equipment, lands, what does trample do, what does vigilance, what is flying, the evergreen keywords. And that just through a couple of summer camp interactions with Magic, I knew the basic rules. And for a while, I was really into Yu-Gi-Oh!, but then I moved, and the place I moved to had no local Yu-Gi-Oh! Scene to speak of. And that I saw, there's Magic Gathering pre-release thing going on this weekend. And, looking up online, people said, yeah, you can go to a pre-release, and people will help you build your deck if you say that you're a new player. And I was like, I think I'm going to find places. I know the rules. I don't need to be handheld. Once I have a deck in front of me, I can play the game. I can read a card. I just don't have the skills for limited evaluation. And that I went to this pre-release, and I was up front, with the people to my left and right at the table. I was like, hey, I know the game, but I have not been to a pre-release before. I don't know the heuristics for making a deck. And they were very helpful. They were like, okay, you've got this card, that card, so let's make you this good green-white deck.
That's very standard.
I went 4-0 with that deck, Arthur.
Yeah, though that's very standard for Magic the Gathering. Like, generally, the community is extremely welcoming and helpful, and they will help people build decks and get things together and, like, give them a lot of leeway and slack. You don't have a lot of card sharks in Magic the Gathering, except at, like, the very high level. Like, honestly, I would say at the highest level of Magic the Gathering, the card sharks you were dealing with are, like, maybe 20% of the entire field. Like, they're very, like, there is a sense of morality and, like, ethics to Magic the Gathering that I have seen over time. And, like, the number of times that I've felt, like, ripped off on a ruling because someone tried to rules lawyer me has been, I could count it on one hand. Like, and those people, everyone hated those people. Those people were just generally... Yeah, word gets around, and people know that they're, like, dude, there was this one slimy motherfucker who would try to, like, rules lawyer children at F&M. Like, and that's the most annoying thing about this. He was a pro. He was a fucking pro. So he was just an embarrassment on everyone.
My thing when it comes to rules and enforcement, if it's a pre-release, everybody gets one. Even if I've sat across from you a million times at F&M, it's pre-release. Not everyone knows all the cards yet, and I'll be like, I then sort of evaluate. Are you someone that I've played, I know comes to the store on the regular, knows how to play the game? Everybody gets one, and that I'll usually say if it's an experienced player, it's like, hey, yeah, I'll let you take that back, but this is your one.
Yeah, you get a roll. You get an oopsie daisy rollback every once in a while.
But if a second time in the game, they're like, oops, can I take that back? I'm like, dude, I know you've been playing this game for 7-8 years. I gave you the one. I'm gonna kind of hold you to that declared attack. Sorry. And it's not even rules lawyering. It's like, it's just, I'm not going to let you oopsie doopsie twice.
Yeah, you can't allow people to continually walk back things over and over and over and over again, right?
But if it's a kid, I've never seen them at the shop before, I'm going to give them like 3 before I start to really, I'm going to give them 3 chances, or like, if it's not game 3, I'm going to let them take it back just about as many times as they need to. Just about.
Yeah. Because more than likely, in a lot of those situations also, you're
probably going to win anyways.
Yeah, you're probably going to win anyway, so be reasonable and respectful with people, rather than just, like, making people miserable. Like, you don't want, as a community member, you really don't want people to leave the tournament
Unhappy.
feeling like they don't want to. Yeah, they don't want to come back.
Exactly. Yeah, and that after games. So the way that I actually interact with Magic. So I had that one pre-release, which I did really well on, and then gave one of the people who had helped me with my deck. They mentioned, they're like, "Ooh, you pulled that foil. I'd like to trade you for that after the tournament's done, because you're not allowed to do that during the tournament." After it was done, I collect my prize packs and I just gave him the card. It's like, you may help me make my deck. Wouldn't have done that without you. Here you go, just take it.
Aww.
But didn't interact for several more years. But then I'm a limited player, Arthur. That all I do is sealed when it comes to pre-releases, and then I draft. I kept
that's something a lot of people don't understand about Magic the Gathering is like there are different skill sets to every format, especially like limited versus constructed, right? Like I've known people who are like amazing at like modern and like standard, and then dog shit at they cannot draft to save their life, no matter how easy the throws are. Like they can't because I think honestly, I would say draft is the highest skill floor of any format,
and that's why I love it. That the act of
sealed
drafting,
coming close,
the game of drafting is so fucking fun to me. That I for a while kept up with constructed and just sort of like, all right, I will watch Grand Prix streaming on Twitch for standard, a little bit of modern. Usually didn't keep up with legacy stuff, but that I only ever played 2 constructed tournaments. One was because I wanted to do one with my cousin. I made an anti-meta deck and it was fun. Another time I borrowed my friend's really dumb gimmick deck. But each time one of those matches was against a hard control deck, and I was like, this is why I don't play constructed.
Yeah.
And also the fact that in limited, you're going to get a different experience every time, that I don't need to commit to a deck. Plus, what I would do is, all right, since I'm not playing constructed, I take any winnings that I have, whether it be the prize packs, whether it be the rares that I drafted, sell them back to the shop, and that, I don't always make back my entry fee dollar for dollar, but that if I'm not, I'm usually paying
for close to free.
It's playing for close to free, or like, maybe I'm losing $5, $10 if I'm really having a bad day. And at that point, it's a movie ticket that I'm getting more hours of entertainment than I would at a movie for less, and sometimes I'm actually coming out on top.
You're also developing your skill by continually. It's the same thing I say about VTubing, is that you need to develop your skills. You cannot just continually go on this grind where you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna be best at it first time I try it, and if I'm not, then I don't care and I'm not gonna do it anymore. It's like, no, you can't do that. That's not how it works.
And the beautiful thing about limited is that once you develop that skill set, it doesn't matter if you stop playing the game for 5 years and come back in another set, you're going to be good. That certain standards, like the vanilla test, is not what it used to be. Certain standards of what the floor of a card needs to be good has changed. Power creep is a thing.
Remember when a 2-mana 2/1 flyer was like the best thing ever?
It was like, holy cow! Oh man!
Oh wow! Yeah, it's like
I remember the first time they ever printed a vanilla 2/2 in red, and that was a big deal.
God. Yeah.
To its credit, though, power creep in Magic is not as severe as power creep in other games, though.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. So, okay, is this the time to trash on Yu-Gi-Oh? Is it time for me to take my poo-poo on Yu-Gi-Oh?
Bit.
Okay, Yu-Gi-Oh! I played Yu-Gi-Oh! Before I played Magic the Gathering, and I quit that fucking game. That game sucks, and that was over a decade ago, and I do not understand how people still play Yu-Gi-Oh! To this day. That game is unplayable. It has been unplayable for decades. It is just a constant spam of who can get their combo out to win on turn 1 first, and
it's
then
such a fast game. That's the thing for me. It's so fast.
And then they just ban like everything from the set. They ban anything that was tier 1, and then they move on to like, oh yeah, it's because now we got to print our new set, and we're gonna make a bunch of things just as powerful in this set, and so there'll be a much more tier 1 deck. So you gotta buy the booster boxes, you gotta buy the packs, so you can build the decks.
And then it's just like they don't have a standard rotating format that. So in Magic the Gathering, for those who don't know, that standard quote unquote is the format that it is the most recent 4 to 8 sets. And that is it. And once it's past that, it goes into Modern, which is a much larger pool of sets, and then Legacy is everything. Yu-Gi-Oh! Does not have that. It's not, all right, this is the most recent set or group of sets. They have a rotating ban list. 4 times a year, they have scheduled, all right, we are banning these cards because this is how we're going to shake up the meta and keep things fresh. In Magic the Gathering, if something is banned, something has gone wrong. There was a time when there was like a dozen cards banned in Standard, and people were like, whoa, is this the end times? Like, what the hell is RNG doing? How did this happen? Is somebody being fired? This is unprecedented. It is unthinkable. The fact that you have to ban 12 cards, and you have in Yu-Gi-Oh! Their meta, their standard rotation is, okay, these 60 cards are banned, restricted, or semi-restricted.
Yeah, I'm looking at the list right now.
It's fascinating in its own way, but
there is a list of it looks like fucking 70 cards banned, like a solid 50 cards limited. There's a pile of cards like 10 cards semi-limited and 10 cards that have just been removed from the limiting list. Infinity Archfiend only just came off the limited list after 15 years.
Apparently,
oh my God.
And seeing some of the old ones that all right, this is overpowered. Raigeki is no longer banned. It's now unlimited. It's like, how did you power creep that much?
Dude, Mind Control is unlimited now. Mind Control! That's how far the power creep has gone.
Apparently they printed a better Monster Reborn recently.
What the fuck?
And just...
Excuse me?
If you enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh!, I'm happy for you. That I'm glad it's doing well. I have a lot of fond memories of Yu-Gi-Oh!, and especially for the anime back in the day. I'm glad that people have it. I cannot say that I believe it is good game design.
No. Yeah. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. It is not. It's probably some of the worst card game design that there is right now. It is one of the most poorly managed, poorly designed games, and I think it is surviving only off of the back of its brand at this point.
Somewhat,
and having cute cards.
Like I said, if that's your jam, there's obviously something that, for Arthur and I, that just, we do not vibe with the game. Obviously, a lot of people do, and I'm happy for them. I'm glad that...
But you know what game in that design format that we might vibe with? Rift Runners coming soon.
Hey!
Packs out now. Hey, Rift Runners coming soon.
There's going to be 3, count them 3, Arthur, VTuber trading card games in the next 6 months.
Yeah, I'm jumping all over Rift Runners. I've been offered. Okay, actually, I don't know if I can talk about that yet. Maybe I might be in the game at some point, and if I am in the game, I will be designing.
I think I saw somebody open packs, and I know I've seen a Ren card. I'm pretty sure I saw a card of you.
There's Rens, there's Karis. No, I'm not in the set yet.
Okay, maybe it's somebody else.
The plan is probably set 2 or 3, and I don't want to agree to it until I can play the game. I want physically have the cards in my hand.
You want to be able to
play the
approve
game.
me I enjoy this game, because you don't want to be in it if it's something that you think is...
I want to enjoy the game, and I also want to know the game in and out. The thing with me is I can't just read the rules and understand how to make a good card. I need to play the game to know how to understand how to make a good card. Because then I need to design a brainstorm. I need to design a lightning bolt. I need to design... I'm going to design a card that
you're
is
probably
so
going to ask
fucking
the designers
busted.
to be okay, if I'm being put in this game, I would like to have influence on the mechanics of my card.
Yeah, well, no, that's what I'm literally saying. I'm just going to design my card. I'm going to design my card, but I need to know how the game functions in, out, front, back before I can actually design my card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so then I can make a Snapcaster. I want to make a card that's going to have lasting impact on the format, not to a broken extent, but is going to be usable in every deck.
All right, this is meta relevant, but it's not broken because you don't want it to be banned.
Yes, exactly. I want to be really good, but not bannable.
Exactly. You got to find that line and just, so like I said, I wound up getting into draft, and that once you know how to do that, it is, like you said, a very high skill floor, but there's, a bunch of different podcasts or just watching people draft on Twitch, and that it is so much fun for me because I get Christmas 4 times a year. Every time a new set comes out, and have you seen, Arthur, the stuff in Outlaws of Thunder Junction?
No, what the hell is that?
So the new set, and it is the 100th standard set of Magic the Gathering, like the actual 100. Pre-release is next weekend. It is their Wild West plane. It's the first time we've been to this plane, but in Magic the Gathering, there's a bunch of different worlds known as planes, and just they all have different flavorings. That there is the Norse gods plane. There's the one where it's sort of like Roaring 20s plane, and this one is the Wild West. And there's a lot of different design approaches that Magic has. That there's what's called top-down, where you take the concept and you say, all right, what are all the things that you expect in this trope? And that they find that and then design cards to that, and that's how they do it. Others are bottom-up of, okay, we want to make a set that is all about two-color pairs, and then we will find things that lend themselves to that. And that just, I don't know how much you listen to / read things about the actual design process of Magic, but I think it's just fascinating. And
yeah, I don't know. I was never much one to like dive deep into the design docs. I will say I did always delve into the design docs whenever something broken came out, like Copter. Like whenever anything like Copter came out or like Emrakul came out, I was like, I gotta see what the fuck they were thinking. Like I gotta what are they thinking? And then every time it's like the playtesting groups didn't catch anything about it. Like they had no. That's one of the things that I think
they put on a guardrail and the guardrail missed,
was not anything anyone would be using. Yeah, it's just like ridiculous.
Or that there's some interaction sometimes on an uncommon that they don't realize, and it's like, oops, this is broken. Remember Felidar Guardian?
Oh, God. Yeah.
That was a deep cut. If you know what that was, say so in chat.
Them not realizing what the fuck Felidar Guardian was doing. Them not realizing the Aether, the Aether card, the one they could auto spin for Ulamog. Like it's so many moments like that happened around like the same time, the same formats that like I could understand why people started to doubt the viability of the game for a little while, because it was getting kind of ridiculous. Because so the argument I have a lot of that is, what they would do is they would hire pros out of the scene and have them on as their playtesting crew to like design cards. But the problem is those people would they would also not allow those people to participate on the tour scene anymore once they were working for the company. But what that means is they stagnate. They stagnate as players, and all they're doing is internal testing.
It's a very logical place to pull from. All right, get the best players to be the ones to try and break the game. That is a perfectly logical approach, but like you said, it caused them to very logically stagnate, because also logically, you cannot have your playtesters being in the pro scene. That would be unfair advantage right out the gate.
Yeah.
That they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and that you can sort of tell when the internal team has been away from competition just a bit too long.
Yeah. And I think it was the moment where, like, Copter was printed the same set as, what else was banned in that stand? There was like 4 cards banned in that single standard.
Yeah.
That was like okay, maybe we have an issue here with the team. We need to figure something out.
But for Outlaws of Thunder Junction, it is a top-down set, so they looked at all the tropes and like, all right, how are we going to design things? And one thing that some people love, some people hate, I'm very much in the middle ground of it, is Magic takes itself less seriously than it used to. That it used to be, this is the button-up, this is the pure fantasy card game, and that you might get a couple of funny little quips and quirks in the flavor text, but by and large, they did not allow squirrels to be a supported card type because it was too silly. It was too irreverent, and that they would only ever print it in the unsets, the not actually legal for play sets. And
they took themselves almost a little too seriously. Yeah.
And now they're kind of making up for lost time in that you see them making a lot of puns and doing a lot of silly things. And generally speaking, though, you see them a lot in the commons and uncommons, the things that aren't going to be on the Pro Tour, the ones that are going to be around in limited play, and they're fun to read, they're fun to see, but it's not going to be the ones that people are interacting with on the regular basis. And I have a small curation of some of my favorites here. And the first one that we have is Boombox. Because it's a boombox.
What is this? Okay, so it's a two mana enchantment artifact with 6 and tap. Sacrifice Boombox, destroy up to 1 target artifact, up to 1 target creature, and up to 1 target land. Holy fucking shit! What the hell is this? What is this?
It's not good. This is never going to see actual competitive play. It's 8 mana.
I mean, it's 6 and 2. Though. But I like this. I like this a lot.
It's a boombox. It's a boombox.
I mean, yeah, this is very much like an EDHS card, but the thing is, like, I like a lot of stuff about, like, the design, about a flavor of this. You get this out early. I'm sure there's stuff that reduce the cost of, like, activated abilities. Mm-hmm. It's a 3-for-1 in a lot of cases, especially in EDH. It would be a 3-for-1, like, almost guaranteed. I like this. I like this design a lot.
And sometimes you just get, outright puns that are, all right, this is silly, but it's something that's going to be draft chaff.
Yeah.
Because you have...
Though I don't know.
Loan Shark.
Draft chaff? I mean, I feel like I would include this as my 40th or 41st card. Like, I feel like I would put this down. Because it is removal. I mean, that is...
Boombox, maybe. Loan Shark, not so much.
When Loan Shark enters the battlefield, if you cast 2 or more spells this turn, draw a card.
Now...
What the fuck? Yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
The joke here is the ability here, plot. This is a new keyword for this set because, in Flavor Outlaws, they're plotting things that you can pay in advance, have it exiled face up, and then play it for free on another turn. So the gag is if you're running a plot deck that you can cast multiple spells in a turn because you've paid for one of them or more on a previous turn. And that's how you're able to get the value out of this card.
Cast it as sorcery on a later turn.
On a later turn.
So it's kind of like you're suspending your own cards in exile, and you're not without suspend counters on. That's an interesting mechanic. Okay,
you can trigger it whenever you want, but that you're paying more than what a normal suspend cost would be. That you're still paying usually about the same rate, maybe one less.
Yeah. Okay. I like this. I like this mechanic. That's smart. I also see how they probably had to be very, 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 very careful about the balancing of every one of these cards because of Storm.
Yeah, well, Storm has not been printed and will probably never be printed again, certainly not in Standard.
Well, certainly it'll never be printed again.
There's a whole thing named after it.
But more speaking of like thinking, they had to think of all Eternal formats when they printed every single one of these cards.
Yeah. Sometimes they just take silly things that you need your generic black removal spell in every set. That's just how you're going to have limited design.
Yeah.
So, what do you do in Wild West? You shoot the sheriff. They put a freaking
destroy a non-outlaw creature. Ooh. Oh, for 2 mana instant? Oh. Whoa, non-outlaw? Dude,
yeah, so,
how powerful are they going to make 2 mana removal spells? This is so ridiculous.
But it's a freaking Bob Marley reference, and they even went as far as to have the follow-up in the flavor text.
Oh, wait. Oh, it says assassins, mercenaries, pirates, rogues, and warlocks are outlaws. Everyone else is fair game. Oh, okay. So it's not... Okay, for a second there, I thought that outlaw was going to be a specific typing, and it's this just says outlaw 2 mana destroy target creature.
It's like historic. It's like... They've done batching things flavorfully of, all right, this is our... Yeah. It's usually only ever used in a single set or so, and that outlaw does cover a lot, but yeah, otherwise it's going to be 2 mana kill thing. But they have I shot the sheriff. Now where's that deputy? That they're letting themselves be very silly on that.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they just go full send because, I kid you not, Arthur, they have... Here. They put Wile E. Coyote in the Roadrunner.
Oh my god. Cunning Coyote haste for a 2/2. Okay, 2/2 haste, pretty good. When Cunning Coyote enters the battlefield, another target creature you control gets +1/+1, gets haste until the turn. Oh, that's fucking ridiculous. Alright, and then it has plot 2? Oh my god, this is a fucking first pick uncommon every day.
But also just the flavor here. The flavor of Wile E. Coyote. always plotting, and that haste, and then for Resilient Roadrunner, haste protection from coyotes. Just that might as well be flavor text. It's almost never going to actually matter. Coyote is not a common creature type in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
But for the joke here, for the flavor, and even the art is a single contiguous piece. And just
I love this card design. Both these cards are fantastic. Like I love the flavor of it. I love the design. The design is actually just good. Like good on both of them.
And that's the thing that they do these silly things, but they commit to the bit, and they these are still Magic cards. They're still doing things, and that they're still finding ways to make it fun while also hey, one time during the format, you're gonna your opponent's gonna have a Cunning Coyote on the opposite side of the field, and you're going to draw your Resilient Roadrunner and be like, this is the best day of my life. It's going to be amazing. And then we have just 2 left, just about done, because I feel like there's a higher proportion than usual of silliness in this set. But what happens when you want to flying on a creature type? Let's give a cow wings. What do you get? Holy cow.
Okay, so 3 mana, 2/2 flyer.
This thing is
with
strong.
Flash.
This is.
Oh my god, dude, it's got flash too. This is a common. Wait, when Holy Cow enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life and scry 1. What is this? What is gone? What is happening?
This isn't as
since I
bad.
left?
There was a busted common a year and a half ago where it was 2 and a white for a 2/2 flyer, ETB, draw card and gain a life. And it was the best common in the set. It was better than 90% of the rares. It was. It's never going to see constructed play, but in limited, it's outright busted. So
it was just a miniature, like what's the blue card 2 mana like flyer. It's just a mini Mole Drifter.
Yeah.
What the fuck? What the fuck is going, just, dude? Limited sounds badass now, honestly.
That's the thing that it is that it's no longer okay. They've made it so there are very, very, very few just unplayable cards printed anymore, because that used to be the thing. Part of limited evaluation was knowing what cards to never ever put in your deck because they were just awful. Now it's actually okay. Even
it's
if
an entire skill point, I would say, of the limited format. Yeah, it's like you are going to face people who put shit cards in their deck, and then you're going to beat them because they have shit cards in their deck.
Yep, and that you still have that now because there is still the big range of shit cards versus, all right, this is what is powerful in this set, but in the day it used to be, there were some that were just so actually bad that it would be a bad gameplay experience if you didn't have a good draft. And now you can always make sure that you have a playable deck, that there are just so few dead ones, but that if you don't know how to evaluate cards, while you have a playable deck, your opponent will steamroll you still, that they have preserved that. And I like that. And then the last one, which is just, I saw this and I shook my head and I said, this is unforgivable levels of puns. I respect it. They could never print this anywhere else, Arthur. But here, you look at it and say, yeah, that makes sense. Bovine Intervention.
Oh my god. Destroy target artifact or creature. Its controller creates a 2/2 white ox creature.
Beast
token.
within, but a cow.
Oh, I mean, it's not as flexible, but it's still, that's really good.
But just it's the card name Bovine
It's an
Intervention.
instant too? Oh my god. This format's insane.
And this is just the wacky stuff, that there's actually a lot of really cool things that I would definitely suggest, after you've gotten some good sleep after this very long day, you just read through the card list. There's some cool stuff in there. There's some really cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna be absolutely pouring over this card list in the morning when I wake up after I die. After I die.
Don't get me wrong, folks. I have shown this curated list of this is the epitome of it, but there's 250 cards in a set. That there's a lot of actually really cool designs. This is Magic the Gathering is not all just a comedy show, but they find their place for comedy, and I think that when they do let themselves do that, it's quite amusing. And so sort of wrapping back, Grand Prix, I went to Grand Prix and I just did limited. My friend and I would clean up and we'd walk away with several boxes and worth much more than the entry fees we paid. But that's all I ever did. I never competed.
Yeah, I would just walk away with hangovers, and I mean, I would
But
win.
you walk away with hangovers
pretty
and
regularly.
memories.
True.
Well, at least usually. Sometimes those memories actually would be gone, but that's a separate reason.
Sometimes they would be just not there.
Yeah.
I would have to be told those memories by other people.
Yeah. Now, speaking of lore, I know that you've been getting into Warhammer lore a lot, and Warhammer is certainly a very separate beast from Magic the Gathering. How did you fall into that one?
So I've always kind of drifted around Warhammer. Like, I've been in the general vicinity of it for a long time. People have tried to get me into it, and like, I've played the miniatures because I worked at a card shop, so of course I was around Warhammer players all the time. But I just never delved in that much. But a couple of times I saw some Warhammer videos in my oh, you know what it was? I got recommended a Warhammer animated video at one point, and I watched it and I loved it. And then I looked up like a lore video about a specific thing. I think I wanted to learn about the Tyranids more. And next thing I knew, I fell into the hole of like watching various lore videos and listening to Luton. And next thing I know, I'm like putting on a 2-hour Luton video before I go to bed so I can absorb it while I sleep.
Have you actually bought an army yet?
No, I was gifted some. Hold on, I always forget what they are. Infernus Marines. I was gifted a triple set of Infernus Marines that I still need to paint, but I have not bought an army, and I don't know if I will buy an army. Because I don't have the time to go somewhere and like play the game physically with anyone, so I don't think that it would be worth my time or my money. Fuck giving Games Workshop a pile of money. Oh my god.
Fine. I don't know. You could probably do maybe a painting stream, have it be sort of worthwhile that way, but yeah. Games Workshop, not a great reputation.
No, and they everything is so overpriced of what they sell too. Like some of the models are just like, bro, you can get this thing printed with a 3D printer for like $20, and you're charging $500 for it. It's like, no, stop it.
The markup for brand is significant.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Yeah, it's Games Workshop has done so many things that I know about through hearing, because I believe there's no company, no player base that hates the company that runs it more than Warhammer players in Games Workshop.
And that's saying something.
That's really saying something. When you think about all the various different hobbies and like adversarial companies, the hobbies that are out there, like genuinely, I think that.
I've heard
Warhammer
it more of the
players
other way,
hate...
actually. I've heard people say I've never seen a game company that hates their fan base more than Games Workshop.
Yes, I'd say they hate them more than Nintendo hates their fans, which is it's really saying something.
Yeah. We won't get into all that because we don't have time for it, but there's a fun one for you folks to Google if you're curious about.
Yeah, if you want, maybe someday I'll go through I'll find like a Warhammer drama video. I wonder if that was ever created by anyone.
There are lore videos about the company. There are lore videos about the decisions they have made, and it's not good.
Nope, it's not. Even vaguely remembering the stuff I was told years ago, it's real rough.
Like they even tried a absurd one a couple years back, I remember, regarding like streaming permissions and content creation permissions, which was just like, you think Nintendo is iron-fisted, that they were trying to do something of just absurdity of the first degree.
Yes, or the fact that they've signed multiple like very prominent fan creators like to contracts with them, and then proceeded to do almost nothing with them while they languish away like on like random small things for their Warhammer Plus subscription. Because of course they tried to make a streaming service, because that's, what else would a miniatures company do other than make a streaming service? God damn. where you get exclusive rights to buy specific models. Oh wow! I'm so glad I get to pay you money to give you more money.
The design must have sounded really great to the accountants.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Are there any games that you haven't played that you want to try to get into? You know, obviously you don't have a ton of time, but you know, are there any that you look at and say, maybe I'll try and learn this one on stream or something?
Well, the game that interesting you asked that question, because the game that I jumped into the other night, like before I went to bed, was Helldivers 2. I was gifted Helldivers 2 by a fellow VTuber to try it out, and oh man, I had a good time with it. That game is so fun. The game's so fun, and I think I'm going to be playing more of it going forward. I don't know how much I'll stream it on my channel, though. That's the thing. I don't know how much I will stream it on my channel, because I have like an aversion to things that are popular. Like my skin breaks out in hives if I think about doing things that are popular. So I'm going to go back to playing Mario 64 all day tomorrow instead.
Yeah. How many times have you beaten Mario 64? Do you even have a guess anymore?
0 times. This is my first playthrough. Well, true playthrough.
You did say that you hadn't had an N64 before.
Yeah, well, no, I've had one, but the problem was I was very bad at games as a kid. Like, a lot of games, I'm a weird autistic guy, where, like, some games I just click with me, and I 100% am gonna go crazy and insane, and then some games, like, I get, like, a couple levels in, and I'd, like, get confused, and I just put it down and never go back to it. Mario 64 was one of those games for me.
Gotcha. Still, that's exciting, though, because frankly, there aren't that many people that get to say that they are still having their first experience with Mario 64, because obviously it is such a modern classic, and
yeah,
I don't even know if it can be considered a modern classic anymore, because it's old shit.
It's very good. It's very good. I've been greatly enjoying the later levels and like zooping around and figuring it out. Like, I mean,
the camera's
the
a
first few
little bit
levels are
wonky, but just
it's fine.
It you know, pun not intended, it changed the game. 3D platformers, there's a reason that it is pointed to, and why to this day it is still heralded as just a glowing example of the genre.
Absolutely.
Plus the music, just Bob on Battlefield still slaps, and you cannot
everything about it. Everything about the game is perfect.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you finish that game. I think you're gonna have a lot of fun. That there's just so much good design there. Yeah. Are there any others on the N64 list that are perhaps classics that you haven't actually played yet?
Well, you know what I'm going to be diving into at some point? I think the next game after I beat Mario 64 is I'm going to delve into Castlevania 64. I'm going to really give it the old college try and try to enjoy the game, because I know it's one of the most despised Castlevania games of all time. But I think I really want to give it just don't think about it in context of Aria of Sorrow, Symphony of the Night, or Castlevania 1, and I think I might be able to enjoy it.
Because I know that Metroid and Castlevania games are ones that you do enjoy. How many in the Castlevania series in particular have you played? Is it 64 one of the few left that you haven't, or perhaps
there's a lot of the 3D games that I have not played. I've played basically all the 2D games in the Castlevania series, but the 3D games are the ones that kind of elude me, that I've stayed away from. Even the better ones, because I know the beat-em-ups, the God of War-esque beat-em-ups they released later were pretty good, but I just never touched them.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you play that. And do you think you're going to go on to GameCube from there? Or do you see yourself perhaps progressing chronologically, or is N64 sort of special?
I kind of zoop around all over the place. I bounce around from console to console. Like, I was playing a Dreamcast game prior to doing some N64 stuff recently. But like, I could go anywhere. It's so up in the air and so random with me when it comes to what game I play, because I'm much more of like a commentator these days. Like, I do a lot of reacts, a lot of talking about news, a lot of reacting to recent events. But I do still do a decent amount of gaming on the channel. So I could pull out a Dreamcast game, I could pull out a PS2 game, I could pull out something on GameCube, I could finally get into Star Fox Adventure. Who knows? It could be anything. It could be a duck.
A duck. My suggestion for Diamond in the Rough games on the GameCube, I'm not joking, Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg.
Oh no, that's not even, I don't even think that's a Diamond in the Rough game. That's just a pretty darn good game. That has some issues, but overall, it's good. It's very solid.
Underrated. I am constantly upset that it did not do well in Japan or the US and that we're never going to get another game because it was so creative and just so fun. It was so full of life. You could tell that the people that made that cared and were just having a blast with all of their designs. It is not actually that difficult. Controls are a little bit slippery, but also at the same time, I felt like the slipperiness was I considered it a feature, not a bug. That it is a very playable game, and I will definitely defend it. Am I going to say it's the best ever? No, but I think it's one that, especially if you like platformers, it's such a cool spin on the platformer genre.
Yeah, I definitely want to try it at some point. I've watched Mari play it enough times at this point that I do want to try it out.
Yeah. Well, I know you've had a very long day, and that left to our own devices, we could have, we could have an all-timer show. We could go for 5-6 hours, but
I
you would
apologize that I have been dying so much. I would love to have continue this, but my little impasse needs to get into bed. I need to, and also Dolce has been literally this entire interview on my chest and my lap, just like
Dolce.
freaking out.
Oh.
She desperately wants attention, really, 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 really bad.
Well,
I love you.
I have 2 last questions that I ask all my guests. Don't worry, they are not that complex. The first is, do you have any goals for the rest of the year that we are, at that 25% point for 2024? Is there something you're hoping to accomplish, whether it be something to do with metrics or perhaps a particular project, a type of stream you want to do? Anything at all that you're hoping to get before the end of the year?
I have a couple of things. Well, I have things on the horizon. I guess I won't talk about the things I have on the horizon that are happening. But I guess my goals for the end of the year, well, my small temporary goal that I think I'm going to hit is a plus level 1, Twitch plus level 1, which looks like I'm probably going to get it as long as things go well this month with subs. So that'll be a good little increase in my income. And then I'd say I'd like to try to hit 4,000 followers by the end of the year, I guess. That would be nice. And just, I'm okay with where I am right now when it comes to general metrics. Besides that, I'm totally comfortable at the spot I'm at, being like a 90 to 100 Andy, and like hanging out with chat and having a good time. So that's I am extremely content, and it's not that I'm not hungry, but I am very grateful for what I have. And I don't feel that what I have right now is not enough. You know what I mean? It certainly is enough, but I can still like try to grasp for more along those lines, I would say.
Yeah. Now that makes a lot of sense. That you have a full-time job, you have a lot of things on your plate, and that you're definitely pushing and you're having very good growth, but that it feels like you're approaching things from a relatively healthy perspective. That you push yourself, you may stream into exhaustion on occasion, but you never let it go into a actually unhealthy place.
Yeah, no. I'm tired right now, but I am fine. Like, I will get into bed. I'll go have a snack. I'll get into bed. I'll fall asleep. I'll sleep for like 8 to 9 hours, and then I'll wake up tomorrow, like have time to clean up the house, and before like I start streaming again. Like I'm doing extremely, as much as I push myself, I'm doing very well with my mentals and my health.
Yeah. And the last question I ask all my guests is, what does being a VTuber mean to you? And that's not what is the definition of a VTuber, but different people get different things from VTubing. Some people have said being a VTuber lets me get in touch with my inner child. It lets me be someone I can't be in real life. Others say it's the tool that I use as a performer, and that while I might not have a deep emotional connection to my model, that I think I'm able to be much more creative when I use a model as opposed to being a face cam streamer, and that those end up being relatively different answers, and that there are ones beyond and in between, that there is not a wrong way to be a VTuber. So for you, Arthur Abbott, what does being a VTuber mean to you?
Being a VTuber to me means being able to protect myself from a certain level of uncomfortable interactions with an audience, by having this barrier between of the model between me and the general world, protecting my privacy. while still being able to reach people and interact with people and influence people, make people feel something. Because at the end of the day, streaming to me is about trying to make something good. It's trying to entertain people and add value to other people's lives while enriching my own life via the interaction with them. But it can be so dangerous to do that because you see how obsessive and weird people get, even at the VTuber level, let alone the face cam streamer level. So I'd say VTubing it allows a little bit of creativity, but for the most part, more importantly to me at least, it allows me a separation where I am protected to an extent.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and that's something that is certainly not unique, that VTubing allows a level of comfort and safety that is simply not viable in facecam streaming, and that allows you to have the level of connection and emotion that being a simple disembodied voice does not. That I myself was a disembodied voice for the first 3 years of this show, and that I think I did a pretty good job of being a disembodied voice. But at the same time, I also had the added benefit of there was always someone on the channel, the guest, that had the physical presence, that it's much more difficult for me as a viewer to get into a stream if there's no physical representation. If it just looks like I'm watching a normal game screen and hearing someone play beside me, it's not as engaging as when you can actually have that extra visual level of emotion.
Yeah.
And that is...
No, I understand what you mean.
And it makes a lot of sense for you of just the way that you comport yourself, the way that you approach streaming, that I'm very glad you were able to find VTubing, that you have found this comfortable and fun place where you're able to do all the things that you do, and I very much look forward to seeing where you go from here.
Yeah, the long goal is never have to work a real job again and be able to just entertain people the rest of my life. Now, is that viable? Probably not. More than likely, it's not going to happen that way. More than likely, I'll have to continue to work a normal job along with streaming. But it's possible that someday I might be able to get to the point of doing streaming full time. And it's the dream, and it's something you should work for and aspire for, but never bank on.
Yeah. And similarly, even if it doesn't become full time, that maybe it can become sort of that self-sustaining hobby, a la selling games or selling antiques. That you make enough passive income there that it helps cover things, that you're able to regularly upgrade your equipment and not have it actually come out of normal income streams, and that it takes care of itself in that way.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Well, again, I know you've had a very long day, Arthur. The actual last question is, who would you like us to raid?
Let's raid Whimsy.
Whimsy.
Let's raid Whimsy, my artist she is doing several pieces of art for my my re-debut. Well, not my re-debut. I guess it's just the 3-year anniversary. New model debut, like new assets and all. That's going to be on the 20th, hopefully. My model is a little up in the air right now on when it's going to be finished. So I might have to push it forward, but she is doing fantastic work on a number of my assets right now. And she's working on commissions right now. Not mine, but several different commissions.
Very fun. Also, some of the follows that I missed: Phoenix Strings, Bastion Cthulhu, Gamma 21, Lord Badong, Lord of S'more, Arashim Fujin, and I'm gonna butcher this. Akninirith? I hope I got that right. Thank you all for the follows. Welcome on in. Hopefully you all enjoyed the show. And again, thank you to you, Arthur, as well. If for some reason you are not already following Arthur, please do correct that. And, you can find him here on Twitch and Twitter. Arthur Abbott. Links are also on the side of the screen over there, down in the channel panels if you're watching live, and it'll be in the video description when you're watching on YouTube. Hi, YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Content creation. Yay!
YouTube. I love YouTube Shorts. I love it when people tell me to kill myself on YouTube Shorts. Yay!
But again, Arthur, thank you so much. And thank you to everybody in the chat who has stuck around from Arthur's channel, or if you found your way in on your own. I really do appreciate you. If you want to see more shows like this, I do this about once a week, no regular schedule. So just follow here on Twitch and Twitter to find out when I'm going to be streaming. But this has been episode number 145 of Vtuber Talk, and there will be many, many more to come. So thank you all once again. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.